Hey friends, Pastor Bill Walden here with Build Up the Church. This is a devotional word for November 25th, 2024. This is out of the book of First Peter, chapter 4, 2 verses. So important, so important, so important. Let me find them. 2 verses. First Peter, chapter 4, verse 8 and 9. Go back to verse 7. Peter says this, "The end of all things is at hand, therefore be serious and watchful in your prayers." Church is always supposed to be living as though Jesus could come at any moment. And if we live that way, it will produce a holy and healthy priority and urgency in our lives to be mindful of the things of God and not the things of man. End of all things is at hand. Therefore, be serious and watchful in your prayers. And then he says in verse 8, above all things, have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without grumbling. Let's follow the chronology on this. Let's follow the line of thinking on this. If they are living as though Jesus could come at any time, then, as I said, it puts a priority of importance on things. If you know you only have a limited amount of time left in your life, it prioritizes your motives. It prioritizes your thoughts and your activities, your actions. So he says this, be serious and watchful in your prayers, so be prayerful, but above all things, have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. A little phrase there, above all things. It has the idea, before you do anything, make sure you're loving one another. Because as you're loving one another, you will have the natural instinct to overlook faults that people do. Now that is not enabling, and some people would be quick to say, well, we're not supposed to enable people to do sinful things, and they're right. There is a time, certainly, to tell someone, hey, what you're doing is not okay. You need to stop it for your good, for the heart of God, to not sin against God, for your good, for the good of others. There's certainly a time to do that. But the opposite of that, in the extreme, is to view every action, every word, every silence as a suspicious thing, and you're thinking the worst of people all of the time. And you live very defensively, and you live very nervously, and you're always wondering, as the saying goes, when is the other shoe going to drop? When is that person going to do something terrible? I'm nervous. I'm afraid of what they're going to do, and something's going to go wrong, and that kind of thing. And you know how they are; they just do those things, and that's the way they treat people, so on and so forth. And so Peter is saying, listen, if we're close to the end, of Jesus is coming soon, be serious, be sober-minded. Be watchful, but even more important than that, be loving. And then as you are loving, you won't live suspiciously of others, and you won't be wanting to confront people about every little thing. You'll overlook a lot of those things in a healthy way, in a godly way. If you're a Christ follower, you're forgiven of your sins, and sometimes, if there's some serious sin in our life, the Lord will discipline those whom he loves. It says that in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 6, whom the Lord loves, he disciplines and scourges everyone that he calls a son. So there are times when our Father in heaven will pull us aside and deal strongly with us. But think about the day-to-day things. They're covered by the blood of Christ, yes, but the Lord overlooks them. Because of the blood of Christ, yes, but he doesn't ramp it up on every occasion that you have a misdeed or a misstatement or a bad intention. So above all things, be a Christian that loves people. And in so doing, there's going to be a lot of grace flowing out of your life. And then Peter mentions something that's just an example and a manifestation of love. Be hospitable to one another without grumbling. Let me read from the New Living Translation, verse 7. The end of the world is coming soon, therefore be earnest and disciplined in your prayers. And most important of all, the primacy of love. Continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Cheerfully share your home with those who need a meal or a place to stay. Open your heart. If you open your heart, then you will, as is needed and as is appropriate, you'll open your home. If you open your heart, you'll open your home, you'll open your life. And you'll be overlooking those things that you could name, those things that you could point out to somebody. And once again, there is a time and a place for that. But there's also a lot of times and a lot of places where we just simply overlook the wrongdoing of people. Because, as Peter says in the New King James version of the Bible, as it's translating Peter's words, above all things, have fervent love for one another. Love will cover a multitude of sins. So may your heart be inclined in that direction. Above all, have fervent love. Some things to think about. God bless you. Thanks.